Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Jen. I'm a homeschool mom of 6 and we have been homeschooling for 8 years. We're going into our 9th year homeschooling. Looking forward to this new year coming up. Today though, I'm talking to you guys about some of the curriculum that we used this past year. I have been doing a whole bunch of videos on all the curriculum that my kids have been using. I've been doing it like per kid, per grade. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be sort of combining my two older kids, my two kids that are in high school. I keep talking about how my son, he's graduated high school. This was his last year of high school, but he was in grade 12 this past year. My two kids who are in high school, and also combining what we did in any kind of group situation. And the reason I'm doing that is because we do things a little differently once the kids hit high school. Once the kids hit grade 9, like once they start high school, they start doing an online high school program, and it allows them to earn credits to graduate from high school with an actual high school diploma. Is this necessary? No, it's not necessary. I'm going to say also that we live in Canada. I live in Ontario. Where I live, there really is no rules or regulations in terms of what we have to do or what we can't do when we homeschool. We basically have to just send in our letter of intent, and then the rest is up to us. They kind of just leave you alone, which is how I like it. You can still apply to college or university with just a homeschooling transcript for sure. For the kinds of things that my kids were thinking of going into, just to kind of streamline it a little bit, we decided to go the route of letting them do school online, and then when they graduate, they come out with an official high school diploma. Alongside that though, we still do things together. It's not like they just sit there and they just do their online school and that's the end of the story. We are still very much a homeschooling family, and we still do a ton of stuff like together outside of that. That's still something that we focus on, and that is really important because I still want them to learn certain things. I still want them to take certain courses. I still want to have that time, you know, with my teenagers, with my high schoolers, regardless of, you know, the mandatory curriculum that they are taking for high school. Because of that though, there's obviously less that we do. I don't have to get curriculum for every single subject. So that's why I thought I would just combine what kind of things they do outside of their online schooling with any kind of group work that we do as a family. Talk about how all my kids do their own Bible devotion. We do morning time together as a family, which everyone is included in. So we do a family devotional then. But for my older kids, this past year, I actually got them both. So my daughter just finished her grade 10 year, and my son just finished his grade 12 year, and so he's done high school. But I got them both this one from John MacArthur. This is actually the same one that I use, and I absolutely love it. I love all things John MacArthur though. This is not necessarily like a teen devotional, it's just a devotional called Drawing Near by John MacArthur. It goes through, there's a devotional for every day of the year. It's dated, and you have the Bible verse and then kind of just breaking it down and how to apply it to our lives, prayer, and then they actually give you some more suggested reading that kind of ties into whatever that day's topic was about. I couldn't recommend this more. Like I said, this is the same devotional that I use, and I absolutely love it. So I had both my son and my daughter doing this as their personal devotion, and I would say from this point on, this is just what they'll be using because they'll just cycle through it. I find that with like these types of devotionals, you can just keep like reusing them every single year. That's kind of how I look at it. So they will be using this again for the foreseeable future. Another thing that I had them do or continue to do is Fix It Grammar, and I've showed this in some of my other videos that my other kids are doing. They've been doing it obviously a little bit longer. They finished the book 4, which was The Little Mermaid, and basically this is just a program where each one is based off of a story of some sort, and you have to correct that day's sentence or sentences the punctuation, the grammar, anything that is wrong with the sentence, you need to be the one to fix it. You do that every day for 4 days of the week, and then we would just take up that day's passage, that day's sentence together. Really great, you know, having them not just learn how to write themselves, but how to spot, you know, when there is errors in writing. So just great to kind of be their own editors of their own writing. So love the Fix It Grammar program. I do it with 4 of my kids now. And I'll start doing it with my daughter. She's going into grade 5. I'll probably start it with her once she hits grade 6 and then moving forward. This is another one that we do, that tons of my kids do. I start them off usually at about grade 5. You can do it sooner, but that's kind of usually when I start it with them, and then right up until they're done high school. So both of my high schoolers did this. They actually did different levels though, corresponding to their grade. Wordwise is just a program that helps you to expand your vocabulary and just understanding words that you may not already know what their meanings are, how to use them in sentences, and you focus on that word list for the week, and then we would have a quiz just to make sure that they really did understand the words. So basically anything to just help make them better writers, because I talked about in my daughter who just finished grade 8, I talked about how there's nothing worse than having to sit and have to read something that is just unreadable. Do you know what I mean? So I really try to focus on my kids' language arts skills, spelling, the punctuation, all the things, because it really does hit across the board on multiple subjects. You know, you're always writing papers, you're always writing responses, you're always answering questions, and so we want to reinforce these things as long as possible. So they both did Wordwise. The things that we did a little bit more like together, like actually sitting down, me teaching the lesson type things together, was Story of the World. So this is a history program. This is volume 3. Kind of just depends. There's four volumes. I think there's 4 volumes. Depends on when you started, and you can sometimes people just like keep cycling through it. It just worked out that we landed on volume 3. Now, remembering that through their online courses, they are also doing history. It's usually a little bit more North American history. This is more world history. We did this together. I have the activity book and the test book as well. We would do all that kind of stuff. They would fill in the activities, and then we would always end the week with a quiz. So Story of the World, I've used it again for years and years and years. It's pretty straightforward. Read the passages. And again, this is something they could technically do on their own. Instead, I read the chapters, I read whatever we're doing that day. They take notes. We usually do a review at the end of the lesson. Sometimes the lesson we'll do in 2 parts if it's a longer lesson. Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday do some of the activity sheets. Then they have Thursday to like look over their stuff and study. And then Friday we would do the quiz. Another one that we do together. So this is actually book 2. This is part of the What We Believe series. This is book 1, which is Who is God, that I already did with them. And this one is book 2, which is Who Am I? And it's basically a biblical worldview of self-image. The first one is a biblical worldview of God and truth. And that's really what it is. It's kind of just a make you think, good discussions, just talking about our, you know, because we do have a biblical worldview. Why do we believe what we believe? Just having discussions about that. That's really what this was all about. Loved the first one. I usually do this over the span of 2 years, like over 2 grades, because I really want to take my time. Don't do it every single day, and I want to make sure that we allot time for the discussions and the talking and all the kinds of things. That is so great about this curriculum. I love it. I mean, honestly, I do this with them because I love it. I love everything about it. I love what it teaches. It really brought about some great discussions between me and my kids, especially the teenagers, because, you know, they face a lot of stuff, and a lot of what they believe is questioned quite a bit amongst your peers. It really hit home. I highly, highly recommend that if you have a chance to do this with your kids. I'm doing this first one with my my middle kids, we're halfway through. So my daughter is going into grade 9 and my son is going into grade 7, and we'll be finishing the second half of this. I would say kind of middle school is probably a good age range to start it. It's enough that they can really comprehend what's in there and what you're talking about. Then the other thing we did together was biology. Apologia. Biology. I love Apologia. They have a lot of great curriculum. This is Apologia. Science is always a chunker. Always super thick, just jam-packed with all the science things. They are doing science online. They're covering all the things there. But biology was something I still wanted to do together because it's more like hands-on with, you know, a microscope, of course, dissection, which we didn't do this past year because we didn't finish. It's just so much. We don't do it every single day. But I plan on doing that with them this year. Now, you might ask, but your son has graduated. Yes, my son has graduated. But see, that's the thing. The thing about homeschooling, you're learning all the time. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be like this with every kid, and I'm not like making him still homeschool. But I already talked to him and I was like, listen, we didn't get to the dissecting last year. I'm going to include you in that this year. And he was like, all right, cool. They could do this on their own, but it's just a lot. And I just think us doing it together, them taking notes and stopping to discuss things. There's a lot of times we stopped to try to like, okay, do we understand what's going on right now? Even my son, he even said to me at one point, some of this stuff I kind of didn't fully grasp when I was doing it online. It makes way more sense now. It's just a difference when it's in person. There's a difference when you're able to kind of bounce ideas back and forth, and you know, I can stop if they're having an issue understanding something or whatever, they need clarifying. It's just a whole different feel when you're doing it that way, and that's what I love, and that's why I didn't want to stop doing that kind of stuff with them. So this is the last thing that we did together. I actually did this with my 4 oldest kids. So I did it with my high schoolers and then with my other daughter and my other son, and it was the Gather Round unit on the Canadian government, and this was so good. We do Canadian history, Canadian geography, Canadian government, all that kind of stuff throughout the year in different ways. We actually incorporate it during our morning time as well. But I just find that like sometimes things are left out, or how you're learning it, like the actual way that you're learning it is different, or it sticks different. Even though they knew a lot of this stuff, they didn't know all of it. This is actually the first time that we've used Gather Round. I've known about it for a while, but I really loved how it was laid out. The thing that's great about the Gather Round curriculum is that, you know, it is meant for you to do as a family together. And then I just brought up like my teacher guide, but the kids each had their own student workbook that was catered to their grade level. So my high schoolers had like a high school version, and then my middle schoolers had a middle school version, and they're similar but slightly different. So, you know, the high schoolers, they would have to do a little bit more research after we were done that day's lesson. They would have a few more things to fill in, a few more questions to answer, a little more detail that they'd have to add, kind of things like that, as opposed to the middle schoolers. There's actually even student notebooks for as young as a 6-year-old. I didn't do it with them because I just knew that a lot of what we were talking about was probably a little bit above what they were going to understand. It was a great curriculum. I just got the PDF copy, so I printed all of this out myself. But they have these Prime Minister cards, and it goes through every Prime Minister history to present. Gives you like their picture and, you know, some facts about them, how long they were prime minister for, what they're known for, all that kind of stuff. So I plan on using these for our morning time this upcoming school year, because my kids did not know, like they did not, like if you just asked them, they don't know a lot off the top of their head of the names of the prime ministers of Canada. And I was just like, stop. We need to fix this. I'm going to incorporate these into our morning time, and we'll just go through a few of them every day, every morning, and hopefully if they could name them all, that would be great. I don't even know them, so I'm not even like throwing my kids under the bus. I'm just saying. That was everything that my older kids, my 2 high schoolers, were involved in terms of group subjects. So grade 8 and grade 6. We also did Story of the World. So we did Volume 1, pretty much laid it out the same as I did with my older kids. We read the stories, did review, activity sheets, and then a quiz at the end of the week. It's just a great program. I love Story of the World. Apologia, What We Believe series, I started with them last year, and again, we got about halfway through it. They have student notebooks that have little activities and little questions that they have to answer and things like that, like reflection kind of stuff. Volume 1, which is Biblical Worldview of God and Truth, Who is God and Can I Really Know Him? And just, it's a deep dive into examining our relationship with Christ, what it really means to be a Christian, how does that apply to us like in the real world and in how we live day in and day out type of thing. Just great discussions. I love it. Awesome curriculum. The last thing that we did as a group was the Good and the Beautiful science units. I just brought one of them up. Now these I did with my 4 youngest kids. So my grade 8, grade 6, grade 4, and like kindergartner. They have, as far as I know, changed the setup, and I think they've done it more so similar to the Gather Round, where there's actual corresponding student notebooks that you can get now with their science units, but that's not how it was. That's not like how these ones worked. So this is just like, I printed this out on a PDF. That's why I have it in a binder. I would actually just give them binders with some loose leaf lined paper. I would have my older kids take some notes. And there was usually like some printouts and stuff, some photocopied printouts for them to add. Sometimes they'd have to label diagrams, different things like that, and other little activities or coloring sheets or whatever. And I would just kind of set it up based on their age. So my 5-year-old, like, she's not taking notes. She's not, you know, she would try to label stuff sometimes. Mostly she was just coloring things in. I might have her draw a picture of something, but she was definitely a part of the discussion, definitely a part of answering the questions, because she loved all that kind of stuff. She wants to be included, and so she was included, and she participated quite a bit. We did mammals, arthropods. I think there was another one that I can't remember now. This was the last one that we ended the year on, though, was the human body. It's not like crazy intensive. I mean, we have in the past with my older kids, the Apologia human body science course. Now that one is, you know, like intensive, doesn't leave anything out. This not so much. This touches on kind of like the basics. Any age can do this, but I would say the ages that I'm working with right now, that's why I didn't include my older kids in this, because it's a bit simplistic for what they've already learned. For my 4 younger kids, it's great. I plan on doing some more this upcoming year. We have already the weather one, aquatic one, or marine life, I think it is. And then I want to get the paleontology one that they just added, because all my kids love all things dinosaurs, Jurassic Park, and all that kind of stuff. I know that they're gonna love that one. And that is everything that I can think of that we did as a group. Some small groups, some big groups, different combinations of groups, because 6 kids from 5 to 18 is quite a big age range, but we made it work. Just looking forward to this next year, all the group things. A lot of this stuff we're just going to continue on in the fall. Yeah, see how it goes. I think I've done all the review. I think we've covered it all. So now we will be moving on to this year's curriculum, which, let me just say, it is currently August 18th. I still don't have it all ordered, and I'm okay with that. I'm still cleaning up the schoolroom, so I'm going to owe you guys a homeschool room tour. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. I hope you guys enjoyed all these videos. They will be in a homeschooling playlist on my channel, so if you ever want to go back, if you missed any of them, or you just want to go back and maybe look at some of the curriculum that I talked about, everything will be there. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. I would love to have you come along on our homeschool journey. Like I said, we're going into year 9. Very exciting, but sort of weird, because my son is not, that's the first year he's not going to be homeschooling with us. And I mean, I know how I feel about it, but I don't really know how I feel about it until we start doing it. And it's gonna be super weird and probably really emotional. So there's that. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you enjoy all the homeschool content. I would love that. I appreciate that. Oh, and if you want to see a little bit more like behind the scenes and a little bit more like into just our kind of day-to-day, everyday life, and some things that are outside of homeschooling as well, follow me on Instagram. It's just ModernMom4Life on there as well. Hope you guys are doing great. See you in my next video. Bye.